Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator, and in today's video we are checking out the newly released SimWorks Studio Kodiak 100. This has been a long anticipated aircraft and today we're going to try it out. If you are interested in acquiring any of my Overkills tutorial guides for Microsoft Flight Simulator, please consider joining me on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides, as well as any future updates and future guides that will be coming down the road. Link to Patreon can be found in the description below. So as stated previously, this aircraft was just released today on Just Flight's website. You guys can check it out there for just a little bit under 45 US dollars. Anything that comes from those kind of price ranges, I'm a little bit more of a stickler on. But so far from what I've seen of this aircraft, you can see we can open the doors. We have full functionality inside the cockpit. There are over 70 different variations that come in the liveries menu. When you first select the aircraft and you go to your liveries menu, you have over 70 different variations that come with the aircraft. Whether that be cargo or a skydiving configuration, having the cargo bay underneath it or not underneath it, the cargo pod, excuse me. There's so much, you guys. And that right off the bat, I don't think I have 70 liveries installed for all of my other aircrafts combined, as far as, me going out and finding them. And this is definitely the first one I've ever seen that came with that many. So all of your different variations are selected from the liveries menu, which I think is absolutely fantastic. It's a very easy way to determine that rather than having multiple variations that you have to select from when choosing the aircraft you want to fly. You just pick the aircraft and then, go and do your livery change. The textures, guys, you have to forgive the camera work. My Xbox controller died, but the textures are absolutely beautiful. Fantastic work on the textures. I went through the wing right there. They've really done a great job with it. Every little detail's there. You can't really see because of the lighting, but the rivets are there. You can see all the rivets. So let me see if I can get into a better view. There you go. Hopefully you guys can see that. Hopefully that comes through well. Obviously, interior. Let's jump on in. No complaints whatsoever. Right up to the cockpit. Everything looks fantastic. Like, I really have no complaints whatsoever. So we're going to skip the mumbo jumbo when it comes to the textures. She looks beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And let's go ahead and jump into the good stuff, and that's flying this aircraft. Now, before we get into flying the aircraft, I want to remind everybody, this is a first impressions video. I know nothing about this aircraft, the Kodiak 100, other than the documentation that did come with it, which, by the way, when you do the installation, it actually asks you if you want to create a shortcut on your desktop to the documentation for it. The documentation for it seems very, very thorough. I did a quick scan through. We're not going to be flying it to that kind of detail today. We're over here at Princess Juliana out in the Caribbean. You guys know how much I love flying out here. We're going to take it up, do a quick circuit around the island, just sort of get an idea of what her flight model's like, and then we're going to bring it back in. And then we'll do a much more detailed and accurate flight later on. So this is a first impressions video from a novice, someone who knows nothing about the aircraft. And so basically, I like to think that, I'm going to be probably similar to most of you guys, unless you guys happen to own a Kodiak 100 in the real world. We're just going to test this out together and give you guys an idea, right out of the gate. Can you jump into it and fly it and enjoy it? So let's see. Let's click up here. There we go. I think I need to do the bottom door first. Hang on. I love stuff like this. I know it's silly, but I love these kind of animations. I really do. Yeah, you do. Okay, so bottom one comes up first, then lock it. All right, and let's go back up front. And then obviously little side windows work. And again, these kind of things, they're silly to some, but I think it's great because it just shows, move the lights, or excuse me, air vents around. But it just shows what kind of dedication the developers are willing to put into their aircraft. That's still time, that's still effort, and it means a lot to me. So let's go ahead and get her started. We're going to check the basics here. Let me make sure my spad.next is going. It is not. So while that's launching, we'll go ahead and check some of the basics. And of course, it's covering the parking brake. There we go. There's the parking brake here. There we go. So pulled is on. Throttle set. RPM down in the feather position, and you can barely see the little red guy right here. Actually, I think I have a camera view for this. And there's our idle cutoff for our condition lever. And then you also have a fuel cutoff lever here, which I've never seen this kind of configuration for, but that's our fuel cutoff right there. So let's see here. What do we got? There we go. And let me make sure that we're in the right profile. Just I found a single complex profile works, so as long as you have your mixture throttle and prop, you're good to go. All right, let's start walking through this checklist. All right, pre-flight. Control locks are off. Obviously, the yoke, we just removed the whole thing, you know. Parking brake is set. All electrical equipment is off. Circuit breakers all down here and modeled. These are modeled. You can push, take them, turn them on and off. They are push in and close. Fuel selectors, we're going to find those above our heads. Drop that one in there. Drop that one in there. Like I said, I did set up camera views and took a quick walk around the cockpit to get familiar with it so I don't waste too much of your time. All right, and fuel shutoff valve needs to be open. That's this guy here. We're going to push it down to open it. Fire extinguishers are checked and good. Master switch comes on. The sounds of this aircraft are great, by the way. Avionics master comes on. Avionics cooling fan audible. We can hear it, indeed. MFD is initialized. Now, I also have the G1000NXI installed, and I think we're absolutely seeing some of that. So, there's your compatibility. Let's see here. Fuel on board check. We got about half a tank right here in both wings. Let's see here. Avionics master switch comes off. Flap switch goes all the way down. There we go. Let's see those flaps dropping right there. It looks great. Perfect animation. Trim set to takeoff. Now, this is a bit different. So, again, quickly perusing through the documentation, you want about 75 to 70% nose down, if I read that correctly. And then pitot heat, we're going to make sure that they come on and check that they're working. Pitot heat is working. Turn those back off. And we're also going to want a ton of right rudder trim. I'm just going to use the pedals because I want to feel what that's like for the first time so I get an idea for myself. I want to see what she just flies like. Stall test is this guy right here. Get ready for an obnoxious noise. Oh, trying to get in there. There we go. Yep, stall warning works. Master switch off. Perfect. All right, and our pre-flight is checked. And then our master switch comes back on. Avionics switch comes on. Parking brake we know is set. Tick, tick, tick. Engine inlet as required. That's this guy right here. Now, I need to learn way more about this, so I'm not going to touch a whole lot right now. We're going to leave it in the norm position. Fuel selector is on left and right. We know that. Firewall fuel shut off. That's this guy right here. It is down. Emergency power lever. That's this one in the normal position. Power lever is at idle. Prop control is in feather. Fuel condition lever is in cutoff. And flaps, let's return those back to 0. Circuit breakers are all pushed. Cabin heat is off. Takeoff torque limit determined. We'll talk about that in a later video. Today we're just going to basically take her up to almost a red line here. We're going to take her all the way up to full. But we'll be looking at about 1,700 pounds of torque if memory serves. All right, and now we're going to go to an engine start. Let's scroll up here. Bus 1 voltage, check 24 volts minimum. Where's our voltage? That's fuel flow. PRPM. Fuel quantity. Ailerons. Now this could be because I'm using the NXI, but I don't see a voltmeter. Make sure it's not a gauge that I'm missing. I don't see one. So that's likely my fault for having the NXI installed. So just keep that in mind. Torque, ITT, NBRBM, NG%, fuel flow. Unless it's that one right there. It could be this guy right here. I can't tell. Anyway, we'll just keep moving on down. Beacon light goes on. Emergency levels power. Propeller area is clear. Yep. Except for George and Fred right there. Or is that George and Sarah? That's George and Sarah. My bad. Okay, and auxiliary fuel pump comes to on. Ignition goes to on. And let's get into engine start. Starter on. I'm going to move back the camera here a bit so we can see some action. But here's our starter right here. We're going to move it all the way forward. Hear that turbine coming on. NG's accelerating. So now we're going to go fuel cutoff through 20%. So fuel's coming to low idle. And we're looking for a 52% minimum on the NG. We're already above it. Starter can now come off. And ignition can go off. Prop RPM goes to max. Instruments check. Looks like everything's going pretty good. We're on the green across the board. RPM still climbing. Auxiliary fuel pump can go to standby. Generator comes on. And alternator comes on. And now we're ready for taxi. We're doing brakes check, flight producing controls, engine inlet as required. Alright, so I'm going to move through these. We will check them, but... And we're going to go to the before takeoff checklist. Now, I'm probably going to skip the before checklist, before takeoff checklist, and airport separator as required. I'm just sort of looking through things. CDI, strobe as required, parking brake release. Yep, okay. And then we'll just go move on over to takeoff. Flaps 20 degrees, elevator trim set, power level set for takeoff, enunciators. Engine rotation. Okay, rotation at 60 to 65 knots, climbing between 85 and 95 knots. Flaps retract at safe altitude. So pretty simple on the climb out. So I think we'll be good there. All right, let me get the head tracker going and we'll get ready for taxi. All right, and we are back. So let's set that barometric pressure, make sure we're on the right point here. Shows 29902. That can't be right. I think we have live weather turned on. Let's verify that. Wind 0507 at 17 knots. Temperature 26, dew point 21. QNH 10117. Guess that's correct. Alright. Fair enough, Maine. Fair enough. Alright, well that makes things easy for us. Let's get out of here. So, let's close that. I forgot what the damn wind direction was. 172. Nope, that was the 050. Let's try that again. So wind's coming from behind us. So, yep. All right. So we're taking off from over there, from the beach line. Okay. So let's give her a shot, guys. So taxi light comes on. Parking brake is released. Adding power. Car's rolling. Brake check. Brake check's good. Turns wonderfully. The ground handling is perfect. Oops. Looking around. Now, she has a lot of left torque. You can see the propeller just sitting here taxing. She wants to pull the nose to the left. That is realistic. And they warn you about that in the documentation. She really likes to go left. So you really, especially if you get a left-facing crosswind, you're going to need to be ready for that. Alright, we're going to back taxi here, so let's get the strobe light on and landing lights. The landing lights have the ability to strobe or Be steady. Bouncy little thing, isn't she? Dunk, 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 dunk. Set flaps for takeoff. A little bit of a crosswind today. And ironically enough, that's going to want to push the nose to the left because it's going to be pushing that tail to the right. So we're going to have even more left torque as we just mentioned, so we're going to have to counteract for that. Alright, here we go. So, setting takeoff power here. And let's let it rip. Oh yeah, taking quite a bit of right rudder. Airspeed's alive. 65 knots, rolling out. Come on, baby. Whoa, mama. Be ready on that right rudder as soon as she takes off, man. Looking for 85, 90 knots on the climb out. Ooh, baby. Coming off that rudder. Passing through 100 knots. Flaps up. Beautiful. Supposed to be looking for 85 knots on that climb. 85 to 95 knots, so she can get quite a climb out of it. We're just going to do a quick circuit around the island here. Trimming nose up. I'm not going to be using the autopilot at all today. That sort of defeats the point. I want to see how it flies, not how the autopilot flies. Alright, let's pull some torque back here. We want to be about between 2,000 on the RPMs. 2,000 and 2,200 is what I saw. So I'm pulling some engine RPM back. I want to come out of this climb. Come on, baby. And then torque to maintain speed. I want to keep her right about 140 knots. Nothing too bad. Not looking to haul butt. The flight model feels really good. She's a busy aircraft when you're in control. This is exactly why I didn't want to try the autopilot. Once the autopilot takes over, I mean, yeah, it's going to fly the same way autopilot flies, you know? I doubt they would release an aircraft like this without a functioning autopilot. But she's busy, man. She's busy. Every little adjustment you make, you better be ready to make 50 more after that. Really impressed. Really impressed. This is a very nice complement to both the TBM 930 and the 208. Sort of something in between. So if you want something that's a little bit faster than 208, a little bit more modernized it looks, with a better flight model than the default 208. Definitely a better flight model. Ironically enough, I just flew it the other day. And you want something that feels a bit sleeker, has a good flight model, has lots of power, fun to fly, keeps you busy when you're in control. This is the one. I think SimWorks has done a really good job with this. I'm really enjoying this aircraft. Well done. So now let's start turning her back home, and we'll land it. See what that's like. I love flying out here in the Caribbean. I really do. Let's just bring her down right there. I can't remember what little airport that is. Can't remember the name of that one. But let's go ahead and bring her down. So we're going to start pulling some power off. We're going to make sure that our RPMs are back to max. 135 knots. We are cleared for flaps 1. So there it goes. Flaps 1 coming in. It's really nice that it has the speed recommendations there. Or max speeds, excuse me. 120 knots. That clears us for flaps 2. And we're looking for 85 knots on the approach speed. 75 knots, sorry. And there's full flaps coming in. Trimming nose up, trimming nose up. Oh, passing my I think I'm going to look for 70 knots. I wonder if that's a glide slope indicator. What is that thing? I'm going to have to look and see what that is, that little green dot thing. Kind of looks like an AOA indicator. Now she's already wanting to kick that left torque again. So I'm trying to maintain 70 knots here on the approach. Always got to have my space shuttle approaches. Doesn't matter what I'm flying. Alright, looking down to the end of the runway there. Power off. Wheels down at about 60 knots there. She slows right down, man. Flaps coming up, cleaning her up. Absolutely fantastic aircraft. This is a ton of fun to fly. It's very nice. It's challenging yet not overbearing. She keeps the pilot active. You're busy when you're flying this aircraft, but it's not ridiculously so where it's overwhelming or stressful. Just enough where she lets you know, hey, I'm here, you know. And I am really happy with my purchase. I'm really glad that I bought this aircraft. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of this one on the channel. You know, I've been wanting to branch out, been wanting to try something new for some of my shorter haul trips that I like to do. I think this will be a Neo Fly great if it gets added in Neo Fly, which we're also going to be bringing back to the channel. Anyway, guys, I highly recommend it. I think SimWorks Studio has done a fantastic job. They bought us a very good product, and well worth putting the name on it. So thank you very much to all the developers for all your hard work. It certainly shows in this aircraft. I can't wait to see what the updates bring to it. I'm sure there will be some that come down the line. The flight model, I think, is absolutely wonderful. I was really impressed with that, and it was a pleasure to fly. So guys, let me know what your experiences are with this particular aircraft, if you've purchased it or not. And let me know what your thoughts are down below. I always love hearing from you guys. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, folks, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good night, folks.